We're here with the chief pilot of these planes that have been flying over the hills here in the Antelope Valley for the last couple of days. And he kindly has said that he's going to explain what kind of plane it is and what it does.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm Brock Hindman, chief pilot of the RJ85 air tankers for Aeroflite Incorporated out of Spokane, Washington. We have 6 federally contracted aircraft. We have 2 of them down here doing annual training. We have to do so many water drops per crew each year. And we have been running 2 airplanes out of Lancaster here, Foxfield, and doing water drop practice out in the hills. We've had simulation with ground firefighters that have been retired that we've hired to help us run scenarios on the ground, and just orange paneling for targets to practice tactics and procedures and get ready for the 2019 fire season.
Sure, sure. So are these going to be stationed here at Foxfield, or do you kind of rove around?
These aircraft are national resources, so we'll go anywhere in the continental United States and Alaska. We oftentimes have aircraft stationed at Foxfield or San Bernardino or Santa Maria in the Southern California area.
Sure, sure, I see. And who makes them?
This aircraft is made by British Aerospace. It's a BAE Avro RJ85.
Okay. And how much water does it hold, or a retardant, I guess?
It holds 3,000 gallons of retardant is what we carry to the fire.
And comes back, lands, and filled up here.
Yep, Lancaster is one of our reload bases, as is San Bernardino, Santa Maria, Porterville, Fresno. So yeah, we'll go to the fire, take 3,000 gallons out to support the ground firefighters, come back, reload, and go do it again.
How long does it take to do that, to reload one?
Oh, oftentimes 5 to 10 minutes to load 3,000 gallons. Yeah, they're pretty efficient.
That gets it done pretty quickly. And the crew that's in the cockpit, is it 1 or 2 people?
2 pilot crew. You have a captain and a first officer.
I see, I see. Well, that's very, very exciting and very helpful to all of us that live around here in these mountains. When the smoke starts going and the wind starts blowing, you just don't know where the fire is going to go.
Yeah, it's helpful for that. Good to happy to be supportive of local communities here, and happy for the support of the Lancaster area as well for us doing this training. And Spokane's a little wintry right now, so it's good to come down here, and it works better with the tanks.
That's right. There's snow on the ground up there when I was up there 3 weeks ago. Yeah, well, this is a kind of a beautiful airplane. It's 3,000 gallons and pumped in from the hydrants here, I guess.
Yep, so they have the mixing plant here, and it gets pumped in. We park in one of the loading pits. They bring the hose out, and it's 3,000 gallons. It's an external tank, wraps around the aircraft. So we'll go pressurized to and from the fire. We can go up to altitude. We can file an instrument flight plan and go across country long distances.
Oh, yeah.
With a load retardant. A very versatile aircraft.
And how does the water actually come out? Is there doors?
There's doors on the bottom of the tank that you wouldn't be able to see right now. Actually 6 doors that will open and allow the water to come out, varying on how condensed we want it for the ground firefighter. And we base that on the fuel type that we're dropping in.
I see, sure. Now, you didn't fly these things your whole life.
Nope.
You started flying someplace else.
I learned to fly in Montana and flight instructed and flew freight and charters, and then I did a short stint at an airline, regional airline, but I flew the P3 Orion air tankers we had on fires, and then I became a lead plane pilot for the U.S. Forest Service and decided to get back into air tankers, and now I'm back flying
these.
Flying the tankers.
Well, I've been up in Missoula when all the hills were smoking, and there was a lot of aircraft and helicopters and stuff flying around.
Missoula's another one of our tanker bases that we'll work out of, and also home to one of our other tanker companies that are federally contracted Neptune Aviation is based out of Missoula.
I see.
Yeah.
And now is your company listed on the stock exchange or anything like that?
No, it's I don't believe it is.
Uh-huh.
We're not a public owned company.
Okay, privately owned company.
Yep.
And so how long are you going to be here in the Antelope Valley area?
Well, this is probably wrapping up training today. This is our last day, and we'll be finished for the year. And we already have one air tanker out on contract that's setting in New Mexico today, and we'll be ready to send the others out.
Well, I haven't seen this style of aircraft fighting the fires before here. Not to say you haven't been in California, but out here in Soledad Canyon and so forth.
We were here last fall.
But okay.
We've been here every year since they've been on contract. But yep, I was flying one of these aircraft on the Woolsey fire last fall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had 2 or 3 of them operating on that, and we had a couple up on the campfire, and also the car fire was another big one in California.
Oh, you were on all those.
We had our flight crews were, and so
sure.
we had a pretty large presence last year in California.
Yeah, it was a bad year for us fire-wise.
It was.
But hopefully with this big rain, we won't have fire for a few more weeks. But then, after it starts drying out, we're going to have a lot of growth.
Yeah, the grass is definitely green right now and growing, but when it cures, it could be another busy fire season.
Sure. Looks like this guy wants to talk to you.
Up online. So.
I see. Warm it up.
Yeah, it's not the engines we're warming up. It's just get the internal navigation systems aligned.
I see.
Not like the piston air tankers where we had to warm it up and check the mags and everything. By the time we get taxied into the runway, the oil temps are normally on, especially a day like today, be ready to go and at the end of the runway and be on our way.
So that started out as a passenger plane.
Correct. That was a 85 passenger aircraft, primarily flown in Europe. But Air Wisconsin and a few other operators had them in the U.S. The older versions, the BAE 146, which is what Neptune Aviation flies. That was, Air Wisconsin had those on, I can't remember who else operated them, but Masaba Airlines had the Avro RJ85s in the U.S. Yeah, good for destinations like Aspen, shorter airfields.
Yeah.
It also has really robust landing gear, so
yeah,
pretty good short field capability.
I see. Good in the wind for out here.
It's good that's pretty good in the wind. Good. It's got really good maneuverability. So for making the drop, it's a really maneuverable aircraft.
Now, when you were flying over the hills out here, what were you really practicing?
We're practicing our approach to a target, our timing for the drop. Make sure we're getting calibrated for the right drop height, our eyes, so we're dropping no lower than 150 feet above the ground. We're starting and stopping a line correctly and practicing different approaches, and something downhill, something flat, something where you have kind of a blind approach and you have to get some lead-in points to it.
I see, sure.
Yeah, and primarily practicing initial attack, because we're an initial attack air tanker.
Yeah.
So we're practicing going out and working with an individual, a ground firefighter on a handheld radio.
Right.
And being the first ones on scene and giving them a fire size up and helping support them on the initial attack phase of a fire.
So he's actually giving you, or she, giving you directions.
They're giving us an objective, and we're figuring out the best way to put the retardant in.
I got it. I see.
They tell us what part of the fire they're trying to support, and then we decide how we're going to get in to do that run.
Okay. And now we've seen spotter aircraft at these fires way up high. Do they kind of help direct?
Yeah, so on an aircraft, if you have what's called the air attack aircraft, sets up high, and they would be essentially like a division supervisor in the air. And so they're coordinating and directing the retardant tankers and your helicopters and scoopers and other assets. You have a lead plane, which my former job would be, for example, one of those, a Forest Service lead plane, or BLM.
Yeah.
And CAL FIRE has some as well. Those guys are actually leading in low-level the tankers. So we'll come on scene and we'll link up with one of them.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to work and
follow them in.
They're primarily there for the safety and efficiency of the operation. Things can go a little faster because while we're coming back and getting another run, they're coordinating the tactics and finding the runs.
Mm-hmm. I see. And 2 people can run this. How many on the ground crew when you come in?
That all depends on. Yeah, it varies from 1 engine to several tankers.
I see.
Yeah. We're primarily working with 1 person on the ground that's on radio that has the objective plans.
I got it.
And that way we're talking to them so we can ensure that the line is clear for the firefighter safety on the ground.
Sure. Sure. Well, it's something that we're all very thankful for, to have you come and do it. And we hope that we don't have as many fires as we've had this last year. This has been a bad year.
We hope so as well, but we're happy to come help.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Now, are any of these aircraft drones?
No.
No.
No. All your retardant air tankers are pilot operated, not drones.
Is that because there's too many inconsistencies about the wind and the area? And
I really can't speak to that. I don't know.
Yeah, because out here at Edwards, you know, there's amazing drones. Flies all the way to Australia and gets gassed up, comes all the way back, and there's no pilot involved at all.
Yeah, we haven't gone down that road with retardant tankers. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm happy to be flying them right now.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And is there any age restriction about pilots flying these planes?
No.
You have to retire when you get to be 43 or something like that?
No, there's no age limit like there is in the Air Carrier 121.
Yeah.
So, one of our pilots is over 70 years old. So.
Yeah, I'm probably enjoying the heck out of it.
Yeah, he's got a wealth of knowledge.
For sure. Well, I want to thank you very much for the tour, and
my pleasure.
And I'll wave to you when you fly over.
All right, sounds good.
I'm here with Clay Myers, and he's going to tell me his official title and what he does out here at Fox Field.
I'm the air tanker base manager at the Fox Field with the U.S. Forest Service, providing management for the base operations. During the fire season, we have a contractor that mixes and loads the retardant, fire retardant.
Yeah.
And so the payment process, the quality assurance, and the ground personnel that service the aircraft, just providing a safe operation as far as involved with the management of it.
Yeah. And you've been busy last year.
Yes, as far as last year we pumped above our average as far as retardant out of this base, and with the local fires, yes, we've been relatively busy last year. And this season may be somewhat short due to the planned construction with the airport. The 7,200 foot of runway is going to get completely rebuilt, so they're going to, as far as close the airport around September, October for the construction to start. So that'll impact our operation, and most likely we'll run helicopter operations out of here as far as the remainder of the fire season.
I see. How long is it going to take them to do the runway?
Well, the planned construction, they want to be done before next March for the planned air show for the Blue Angels that's going to be performing here at the airport.
Sure, sure. The National Forest up here, I suppose that that's your main area of influence, but these planes, I guess, can fly a long way.
Yes, the base is part of the Angeles National Forest as far as the facility and the staffing, but the aircraft are national resources. They'll go from coast to coast or up to Alaska as far as wherever the need is.
Really? And they're contracted for a whole year, in other words?
The contract for the tankers normally run a 180-day contract. Right now there's 2 air tankers on contract, they're both sitting at Alamogordo, New Mexico, as far as just with the planned fire season, since it starts earlier to the east of us and moves west. So with all the rain we've had, we may have a late start to the fire season, but with the rain it's just adding the vegetation, the new growth, so when it dries out, and that could be interesting as far as with activity.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I know we've had a couple of fires over on the hills here, and the last couple of years. I live in Acton, so we've had a couple of canyon fires and hill fires and stuff like that. And I remember the year when it looked like it was all out Sunday morning, and then when I got out of church and I looked up there, it was ablaze again. Right. And the smoke was heading east.
Yeah, with the Thomas fire that we had in the past, the aircraft that supported it worked out of 3 bases as far as Fox, Santa Maria, and the National Guard over Channel Islands, their facility as well.
Oh, I see. Now, these planes, how long does it take you to fill one of these up?
Normally, as far as with the RJs, they carry 3,000 gallons of retardant, and we're pumping basically 500 gallons per minute. So 6 minutes as far as it's short turnaround as far as on the ground. It takes longer to fuel the aircraft than it does to put retardant on it. On the aircraft.
And who actually calls in the aircraft? How does that go?
As far as there's a aerial structure over the fire, if you will, as far as the AirTAC, ATGS, Air Tactical Group Supervisor, he's in the aircraft. It's a firefighter, basically eyes in the sky, if you will.
Yeah.
So he's the basically your IC over the fire for all the aviation resources.
Sure.
Then your lead planes, as far as lead the air tankers into the drop areas, as far as all parts of the fire. Then the helicopter coordinator, as far as is basically the point of contact for the air attack, dealing with all the helicopters. And as the complex aviation resources grow over the fire, a number of aircraft, then it starts getting more complex as far as who's assigned as the primary lead plane, helicopter coordinator dealing with the appropriate resources.
Yeah, I see. Okay, now that everybody's up in the air, but from when a fire starts and is detected, let's say in LA County, then what happens? How does
a number as far as how it's reported, as far as it's any one of numbers where we've had airliners report fires, and just as a citizen, as far as seeing smoke, whether through the 911 system, the local fire department, the sheriffs, and whose jurisdiction, whether it's the LA County, Kern County, or on the forest, on federal lands, whose jurisdiction as far as then the responsibility to provide the suppression resources, ground resources, and air resources.
They take it from there and figure out the best way to...
And right next door is our Angeles Forest Dispatch Center. They're 24/7 operation, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as far as our dispatch center staff. So whether it's as far as the dispatching by radio, as far as the resources, the local resources, and with LA County as well.
Sure. Well, we certainly appreciate it as a homeowner, and I know the people that I represent, when that smoke goes up, they they hope that, or they're thankful that it's being watched and taken care of.
And you know, with the aircraft we have today, the jet aircraft, as far as response time, is a lot shorter compared to the older model type of air tankers that we'd use operating.
Yeah.
So from going from coast to coast with the recips, the Douglas DC-4 type of air tankers, today, as far as we can get a dispatch this morning, and in the afternoon they're dropping fire on the east, or dropping retardant rather,
Yeah.
on the east coast. So as far as response time has been really shortened
Yeah.
for air resources.
That's really helped. Now, drones in this industry, is that on the horizon, or?
Yes, as far as the drones, as far as that's yeah, new capabilities. As far as every year we'll see more and more involvement, and how far it's going to go, as far as just time will tell.
Well, we do stories out here at NASA and the base, Edwards Air Force Base. I was just out there last Monday, and it's phenomenal what those things can do. So I'm sure there's going to be some utility for them.
Yeah, with the weather, as far as conditions over a fire, how the drones play a part, you know, that's, you know, time will tell. And we do have folks, as far as that's what their, you know, specialty are, getting involved with that program. So we'll see how far it goes.
Well, it would seem that looking at the Winter Olympics in China, when they had all those drones up in the sky making patterns, that if they can control them that well, surely there ought to be some way to have a fleet of them to race ahead of these windy conditions. And
well, perfect, as far as that's a big concern, as far as the wind conditions. Perfect as far as no wind, perfect conditions, that'd be a non-issue. But the fire depends on how big it gets, creates its own weather, if you will. So as far as updrafts, downdrafts, as far as as light as the drones are possibly, as far as how big they are, could always present an issue, concern as far as operations.
But at least somebody's looking at it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck during the new season.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to hear about these planes. We've been getting a lot of questions about what are all these planes flying around the hills for. There's no fires, you know.
Every year, as far as all the air crews for the contractors have to have a annual certification to be carded for the operation for firefighting. So this location, as far as weather-wise, one company's from Spokane, Washington. We have another company coming in as far as next weekend from Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
Weather conditions in Southern California right now are more conducive for this training than as far as at their home facilities.
Yeah. Well, thanks again.
Certainly.